strengthen and clarify the city's separation ordinance. That was already in the works months before Minnesota became the focus of President Trump's immigration agenda. But there is this
Imagine an early foggy morning in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the Mississippi River seems to be curling up in a suspicious silence. It is about 4:32 a.m. and the atmosphere is so still that one can hear their own heartbeat thumping in their chest. The streets are deserted with no one in sight. Neon signs flicker faintly outside silently closed shops. Perhaps this quiet is just a fragile shell masking an approaching storm, or maybe it is the peace before dark secrets are brought to light. According to some unverified sources, at this very moment, dark vehicles of the authorities seem to be silently assembling. There are speculations of the presence of federal tactical units, drug task forces, and immigration enforcement units. The hypothesis is that over 200 public officials are preparing for a simultaneous raid on multiple locations across the Twin Cities metropolitan area, but everything is happening in absolute secrecy. Do you believe such a large-scale operation could occur without anyone knowing? Leave a comment with 1 if you believe it and 2 if you think it's just a rumor. In this hypothetical scenario, the first target is said to be a grand 2-story mansion located in South Minneapolis, the residence of an influential figure in the community. This individual is described as an immigration consultant and an important cultural liaison who frequently appears at major conferences and works closely with resettlement programs. However, rumors are buzzing that behind that polite appearance and the walls covered in awards lies a completely different face. A face that perhaps none of us would dare to imagine. There are accounts that when the mansion's doors were breached, the sound that echoed was not the deafening blast of gunfire, but the shattering of illusions of exemplary success. Authorities reportedly secured the ground floor very quickly, but what made insiders shiver was what was allegedly found in the basement. A steel door cleverly disguised under the laundry room floor leads down into a deep darkness where shocking secrets are lurking. Suppose that beneath it is not an ordinary storage cellar, but a heavily reinforced tunnel with ventilation systems and long rows of LED lights. According to some unverified theories, this passage could stretch through residential neighborhoods toward the bustling commercial district. If this were true, how could they build such a large-scale underground structure right under the nose of the authorities without being detected? That is an open question. I want you to reflect on whether there might be powerful forces protecting them. Inside this mysterious underground space, it is rumored that investigators found stacked duffel bags filled with what is believed to be contraband. There are rumors of fentanyl pills, bricks of heroin, and crystal methamphetamine carefully packed in vacuum-sealed layers. Although the actual quantity might not be as terrifying as the exaggerated rumors suggest, it seems enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. But that is not even the most frightening part of this fictional story. A steel lockbox was reportedly seized containing encrypted hard drives and satellite phones with international SIM cards. Notebooks recording payment codes, shipping schedules, and border crossing times were also found. There is a name that seems to appear on every page, a name we shall temporarily call Osman, and the entire operation is linked to a mysterious-sounding code name, Project North. What do you think this code name refers to? Try to make your own prediction. Cyber forensic analysts reportedly had to work tirelessly to crack complex encryption layers. When the screens lit up, what appeared supposedly left even the most seasoned investigators speechless. A tangled digital network diagram connected shell companies, nonprofit funds, and import-export logistics firms stretching across multiple states and even reaching across the northern border. It seems dirty money was cleverly disguised under the guise of humanitarian grants and legitimate business investments. Observers suggest this is not just a single criminal operation, but an empire built on trust language barriers and access to sensitive mechanisms. The man named Osman, according to the hypotheses, was not merely a community advisor, but seemingly ran it from the shadows. Analysts reportedly found authorization keys related to convoy schedules and tunnel maintenance logs, details that sound more like a spy movie than real life. There are chilling speculations that this network had established a logistics alliance with contacts from southern criminal syndicates. Contraband was allegedly moved from super labs in the south to the north through community networks that federal agencies rarely monitor. Decoded messages seemingly show smooth coordination between parties regarding pricing and safe routes through deserted rural roads. This is perhaps not just mere corruption, but a meticulously designed, systematic infiltration. As dawn breaks, the digital map at the command center supposedly glows with dozens of red markers. It is said that over 600 federal agents were mobilized in an unprecedented synchronized effort. From tactical units to counter-terrorism teams, all were focused on a common goal: dismantling this network. Imagine helicopters hovering low in the northern prairie sky, creating a scene both majestic and breathtakingly tense. At a private warehouse allegedly located on East Lake Street, agents reportedly discovered an underground production facility. Counterfeit pills pressed to look exactly like prescription painkillers were said to be waiting to hit the market. At another food processing facility, false walls were found hiding blocks of contraband stacked from floor to ceiling. It seems the figures for seized evidence are massive, but we should be cautious with unverified reports to avoid falling into the trap of misinformation. At a luxury apartment tower in Bloomington, a penthouse registered under the name of a fake charity director was allegedly where a large amount of cash and valuable assets were hidden. The hypothesis is that encrypted tablets found here contained financial records of hundreds of compromised individuals. The story becomes even more dramatic when a convoy of refrigerated trucks was intercepted on a highway near the border. Inside containers labeled as legal food, it was suspected they contained contraband hidden in secret compartments. In just a few short hours, the underworld reportedly suffered a blow more painful than the previous 6 years of operation combined. But more terrifying than the amount of contraband seized is what investigators may have discovered afterward. At the Detention Processing Center, testimonies from mid-level subjects seemingly revealed a much darker picture. It appears this network had extended its octopus-like tentacles deep into law enforcement agencies and public services. There are rumors that some individuals within the government apparatus were bribed to turn a blind eye or even assist in illegal activities. Border agents reportedly delayed inspections during certain hours, or processing officers expedited paperwork for suspicious subjects. There is even a theory that some building inspectors ignored permits related to digging tunnels under residential areas, a detail that sounds unbelievable but is very logical in this context. An anonymous police officer reportedly admitted to receiving monthly payments to divert patrol teams away from certain areas on specific nights. Another allegedly confessed to providing real-time location information for federal surveillance vehicles. If these things are true, then this is not just a criminal network but a parallel law enforcement system, a second police force designed to protect the criminals themselves. A senior analyst reportedly exclaimed that this was not negligence, but a deliberate infiltration. Power does not always require violence. Sometimes it only needs silence and ambition, along with the blind faith of those who assume the system is functioning normally. But according to this scenario, that system appears to have been rewritten from the inside. What do you think about the danger of this white-collar crime? Comment 1, if you find it more terrifying than violent crime, and 2, if you think otherwise. On the afternoon of the same day at the Strategic Intelligence Unit, analysts reportedly found the final file from Osman's server. It was labeled Phase 3 Permanent Infrastructure. Inside it is rumored to contain architectural drawings for expanding the tunnel system into a multi-line underground network connecting major cities with rural assembly points. Proposals to acquire farmland to establish logistics centers, which were actually contraband transit stations, were also found. There were draft contracts with ghost construction companies to build new community centers, each designed with secret vaults and reinforced floors. And a haunting final memo seemingly outlined the ambition to turn this city into a permanent northern hub, untouchable, invisible, and unstoppable. This is not just infiltration, but underground colonization. They did not intend to destroy the city, but to own it from the inside. This fictional story is a chilling warning that organized crime does not always present itself as tattooed gangs on the street. Sometimes it wears the luxury suit of a respected community leader. Sometimes it hides beneath grand mansions in quiet neighborhoods. And sometimes it runs so deep that even those sworn to protect you might be working for the other side. If this scenario were true, we must ask ourselves how many similar networks are operating right beneath our feet without us knowing. 4 years of operating in the shadows. 4 years of toxic underground currents seeping into every corner of society. 4 years of family tragedies that might have been prevented if the truth had been exposed sooner. In your opinion, what is the most recognizable sign to detect underground activities like this in your neighborhood? Please share your views. We live in a world where the boundary between good and evil sometimes becomes as fragile as the morning mist on the banks of the Mississippi River. What we see on the surface may only be the tip of the iceberg. Friendly smiles and firm handshakes are sometimes the perfect camouflage for the darkest intentions. And when night falls, when the streets become silent, are we truly as safe as we often think? This story, though hypothetical and speculative, poses agonizing questions about trust and vigilance. Are we being too naive by believing in outward appearances? Are we brave enough to question the anomalies happening around us? And most importantly, is the system that protects us strong enough against the power of money and corruption? If you feel this story touches your deepest anxieties, please hit like so more people can access this perspective. Comment expose if you want these dark corners to be brought to light even more. Share this post so that the truth, or at least the awareness of it, is not buried under thick layers of indifference and oblivion. We need to be more alert than ever in this world full of unpredictable fluctuations. Perhaps somewhere out there in the thick fog, there are still unfound tunnels, undeciphered lists, and masterminds still hiding in the shadows. The battle between light and darkness seems never to end. It only shifts from one form to another, more sophisticated and dangerous. And our role as observers and reflectors is to never stop asking questions. Because silence is the greatest ally of darkness. The Phase 3 hypothesis remains open, and no one knows if it has been truly stopped or just temporarily interrupted. Perhaps those behind it are waiting for an opportunity to rise again stronger and more discreet. Let us wait and see where the next developments of this story lead, and hope that justice, however late, will always find its way. Do you think modern technology will help us detect such tunnels more easily in the future? This is a question worth discussing together. Perhaps the most profound lesson from this fictional story is vigilance against perfect covers. Evil does not always manifest with fangs and claws. Sometimes it hides behind friendly smiles or the most noble titles. The hypothesis is that our safety depends on the ability to question and not to blindly trust outward glamour. Remember that the indifference of good people is sometimes the most fertile ground for darkness to silently take root and multiply right beside us. Concluding this fictional story, I want you to look out the window where the streets are gradually waking up. Life goes on. But perhaps after hearing this story, our perspective on the world around us will change, slightly becoming more cautious and more profound. Thank you for listening and joining me on this journey to explore these dramatic hypotheses. Remember that truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. In this world of speculation and hypotheses, nothing is absolutely certain except human curiosity. We are always drawn to mysteries, conspiracies, and the inexplicable. Perhaps that is the survival instinct that helps us identify danger from afar. Keep asking questions, keep searching, and never accept easy answers. Because behind every easy answer, there may be a complex truth waiting to be discovered. Once again, please interact with this post if you find it interesting and thought-provoking. Comment 1 if you want to hear more about criminological hypotheses, and 2 if you are interested in cybersecurity and intelligence topics. Your participation is the motivation for me to continue exploring more fascinating and gritty topics in the future. Goodbye, and see you in the next stories where the line between reality and illusion will continue to blur.